Okay, howdy folks. I'm going to do a jointed or articulated pike fly. Very easy to do. There's many ways you can do it. There's many kinds of articulation. You can use those little pieces of wire that join together and stuff, which are quite fun to use. They look great in the water. It's what game changers are made out of. Great fly. What I'm going to do though is something a little bit different. I'm going to use some of these little pike traces. You get these off eBay and stuff. You can buy like about 20 of them for a tenner and stuff or something like that. You know, they're quite good and they do the job. You can also, if you want, use just like something like this, like toothproof wire. Just cut it down to what length you want. But personally, I like to use these leaders. Okay, so we'll take one. They're quite flexible, quite nice, easy to cut, good to use. Okay, hooks. I'm using just an ordinary kind of O'Shaughnessy. This is a 6/0 hook, fairly light. For the front hook, I'm using, again, this is a 6/0 wide mouth, and it's actually heavier than this one. The reason for that being that when you cast this will actually turn the back end of this over quite easily. Because what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to tie one of these newfangled dragon towels. Yes, we're going to have this as the back section, because that's going to work quite well, and that's going to have a lot of movement in it when you put it all together and get it in the water. And that, obviously, with a larger hook on the front, that's going to be a little bit waterlogged. That's going to turn that over really well. So let's get started. Okay, you can, if you want, once you've done this, I know a lot of people do this, I do this with some, is I'll chop the hook at the back there, or you can have it as a double hook setup, which is quite cool. Also, you can actually use these as trolling lures as well. If you get one of those magic wiggle fins on the front of like a trace, and then lower that in. I know Brian at Highland Guided Fishing's been doing this for quite a while now, and he's been doing quite good on them, and they look great. So there's many things you can do with them, but this is pretty much going to be a casting fly, so I'm also going to keep it as light as possible. So we'll get started. Okay, so first of all, what we need to do, we're going to need the length. Okay, so what we do is we just chop off the end, like so, and we chop off this end as well, and that's that. So we'll place that down. What I'm going to do now is get some Gorilla Glue. Love this stuff, it's brilliant. Okay, and I'm just going to, a little bit of Gorilla Glue. Again, with this you only need the tiniest amount, because when it dries it actually expands. So if you put too much on, it can look like the Elephant Man on your hook. Right, okay, so for a thread, I'm just going to go with my standard mono thread, and I'm just going to put a loose whip in all the way down the hook, like so. Okay, so then I'm going to put the wire on. Again, you've already got some glue on there, you've only loosely whipped along there, so the glue is still pretty much visible on the hook there. So what I'm going to do is, that's going to be about the length there, so just measure up the length. Again, once you come to do this side, it's quite easy. So we just whip that on. And again, if you're using Gorilla Glue, you don't need to put any more on. Once you've whipped it, I know a lot of guys will put an extra layer of super glue on and stuff, but with this Gorilla Glue you just do not need to do that, because it expands, and I can still see it on the hook there, and as I'm whipping round it's getting right onto that, no problem, so you don't need to put any more on that. Okay, we get down to the end here, this piece here, I'm going to fold back. I'm putting quite a lot of wraps on here. This Gorilla Glue actually just does dry absolutely solid. It's great. If you want to be doubly sure, because obviously you could have a Pike hookup on that, you can always go through the eye like so, if you want to do that, and then you can go through again just to toughen it up. But like I said, with this Gorilla Glue, I've experimented with it over the years and stuff, and I've found that it is, once it actually dries, it's solid, and that ain't coming off. Okay, so again, it's just a confidence thing really. If you're not confident with that, you can always take your wire and do a wee bit of a knot in there. There's no harm in doing that at all. Sometimes, you know, what you can do is put a knot, I can't remember what the knot's called, but you put a couple of wraps around there, and then you put the wire back through it. It's just like a blood knot really, I suppose, and then you can pull that tight, and that'll hang on to that. But as you can see, I mean, I'm pulling that, and that's going nowhere. Okay, right. Okay, now the fun part. Okay, here we have the magical dragon tails. Okay, great things these are. I love them. Good fun. I remember having these as a kid. Actually, yeah, it was that long ago. Okay, so this is like the next fad thing to use. I think last year the in vogue fashion thing was these wiggle tails. You know, never really use them, to be honest with you. They catch no more or no less fish. People will tell you otherwise, but again, what I think, if you get the fly in front of a fish, don't matter what's on the back of it, that fly will be taken. If you can get that pike into predatory mode and get it to hit something without thinking, that's the big one. So personally, I don't think it matters. Okay, you have a wee bit of wiggle and stuff, no doubt, just enhance the fly a wee bit. But I mean, if you look at, for example, the guys that go out on trout lakes and they're fishing with like little tiny silver lures like this, and they're catching some huge pike, you know, so you got to ask yourself, you know, do you need all these things? But hey, we're fishermen, we love this stuff. Right, anyway, so there we go. I'm not a follower of fashions myself, as you can tell. Right, so there we go, dragon tail. And we're going to put that right up to the hook eye. And then I'm just going to hold that and I'm just going to work that down till I get pretty much to the end. Just there, you can see the hook bend there. Okay. And obviously we've already glued that as well, so there's going to be some glue seeping on that, and that's going to hold. But what we're going to do now, just to give it a bit of extra oomph, we're going to go with I don't know if you call this a lime green or a chartreuse marabou feather. So what I'm going to do with that is, again, I like to use a fair bit of glue on my ties. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on there. Just holds everything in place, makes it a bit more rock solid from pike teeth. And we're going to tie that on. We're going to bring our thread all the way to the top. Okay, and then we just hold that down with your finger, grab the end of the marabou, and round like that. I've used a lot of marabou over the years from various places. At the moment, for the last, I don't know how many years, I've been using the marabou feathers from Castle Feathers. They're available online from eBay. Just go in and do a search for Castle Feathers, and they do some really good packs of marabou and other materials. Very vibrant, very good movement in the water. Go check them out. But marabou's marabou, I suppose, but you can actually get bad quality marabou. Anyway, right, so that's one on there. So I'm going to go with 2 feathers on here, and I like to, if you look at that, I like to get the ones that have got the most feather in them, like motion movement, and that's quite a good one. So again, a little bit more glue. Sorry if I'm rambling on a bit, as I do. I've not done a video for a while, so nice to be back into it. Okay. What I tend to do, put the glue on, put a couple of wraps down, this just gets the glue embedded. Okay. And then bring your thread back down. Okay, and I'm going to start just about halfway. So I'm going to tie that feather in right there. Marabou is actually a great medium. It pulses in the water. Still to this day, my very biggest pike on the fly, which was a 25 pounder from the River Trent down in England, was caught on an all marabou fly, and I just happened to be in about maybe 3 or 4 foot of clear water. Outside the rod tip was in the water. Sorry, the rod tip wasn't in, the rod tip was just out the water, but I could see the fly in maybe about 4 foot of water, and I was just playing with it, just seeing how it worked and stopping it, and it pulsed. Next thing, it disappeared, and I had a 25 pounder on it. To this day, still the biggest fish I've had, just on a basic marabou fly. They do have good movement, which is why I'm putting it in this, just to give it a little bit of enhancement. Something else for them to think about, and maybe get them to strike. Okay, that's 2 marabou feathers in there. Okay, so I'm going to go for one more. I've still got a wee bit of glue there, so that's fine. And again, what you've got to remember when you're tying down all this material, it's actually strengthening that wire as well. I mean, I've had times where I've used these flies with the wire exactly the same as this, and I've snagged on the bottom, you know, and then you pull for a break, and then I've got the fly back, and the hook's actually bent out, the back hook's actually bent out rather than the wire being broken, so it is quite solid. Right, let's go. Last one. Again, I like to just feather it out. A little bit like that. Okay. There we go. Okie dokie. Right. So what I'm going to do now is just tie that off. Obviously, thread it up the wire. Couple of half hitches. Okay, at this point I just like to just get rid of those loose feathers, and now what I'll do is I'll just stick some varnish on there just to seal all that. Make that toothproof. There, okay, there we go. To be honest with you, if you think about it, that's quite a good fly just by itself. You can imagine that with a couple of eyes on. Okay, well that's your back end anyway. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just stick that down there just now, and I'm going to get the other hook ready. Okay, so here we go. This again, this is the big mouth. Sure that's solid in there, just open that way. Okay, that's cool. Right, so with this again, same procedure. A little bit of glue on there. we take our back section. Okay, and we know, I'm just going to measure that up, so yeah, that's looking pretty good. Right, so what I'm going to do is just get a whipping on there. So I'm just going to put that through the eye a little bit and hold that down flat. And then right up the hook shank. Okay, so when I've got to the eye, I'm going to fold that piece back. Give that a good solid whipping, and I can see the glue. I don't know if you can see it, but the glue is actually slipping all around that. That is not going anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to bring that right back till just before the bend of the hook, like so. So the Gorilla Glue is fantastic. You can find it in hobby craft shops, online. It's an American glue. It really is. I've been using it for a while now. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay. Right. So here we go for the main body. What should we do? Okay, I think what we'll do is we'll start off and we'll take the same kind of colour, which is like it's like a neon chartreuse or limey colour, I suppose. This. Okay. And the trick is with this stuff, as I always say, is less is more. Okay, less is more. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that, and then I'm going to take some flash. A bit of flash. I'm going to place that on, and I'm just going to mix that through. Also, what you're doing here again by doing this is you're creating a really nice taper, so the fly will have a really nice shape and you won't need to take the scissors to it. It's very rare now I'll take a pair of scissors to a fly to get a shape. You shouldn't need to do it. Okay, so we'll just split that in. Like so. Right, so we take that, we're going to use about a half, like so. So, place on the hook shank and just a little bit around the hook with your two fingers and a couple of bits on. Okay, and then underneath. And just be careful of that hook back there as you fold back. Okay, looking good. So, I'm going to take another piece, like so, but no flash in this one. And again, I'm just going to pull it through. And just in front of the other one. And then we split it on the hook eye. We split it on the hook. Like so. And a few wraps. We're going to varnish that. I'm going to do now is take some flash. Use as much or as little as you like. And then tweak the ends out. So. Like that. And then fold over the remaining like so. It's quite annoying that you get the tail can flop around a lot as you're trying to tie. Okay, that's starting to take shape quite nicely. Okay, so now take another piece of this half. Now what I'm going to do here is actually fold that in half. That's your whole section, and then cut it in half again. Okay, and then just tease it out like so. So we have one section on top, just slightly push it down like so. Okay. And I like to varnish each piece. I meant to mention some people put beads in here. I tend not to do that. I've never had any trouble with these fouling up or catching, which as far as I'm aware, which is why they're putting beads in. But I never have, never needed to, never fouled up on anything, so I never bother. Up to you if you want to put beads on. But right, okay, so we'll fold that bit down, split on the hook, and as you can see, that piece being shorter, it's going to build up a nice profile on that. That's looking quite good already. Okay, and the same with this. It's your second piece. Okay, and again, if you wanted, you could mix some flash in it. We can do that right now. I'll show you. Okay, so there's a flash. Just pull it through in your hand. Hope you can see that. Again, you can use whatever flash you like, crystal flash. This is Flashaboo, which I really like. You can use angel hair, whatever you like. The EP is quite good as well. Or there's the Deer Creek do a really good a big packet of like angel hair type stuff, which is quite good value. But for this particular pattern, I'm just using Flashaboo. Okay, I'm going to tie that on. So, okay, and we'll give that a wee dab of varnish just to tooth-proof it. Okay, and again we split it on the eye of the hook and split it on the hook itself. A few wraps around. That varnish is soaking through it. Okie dokie. So now we're going to do one more green. So, okay, like so. What I'm going to do with this though is I'm not going to split this one. I'm going to keep this long. This piece being short is going to provide the back for the longer piece to sit on, and it will go over the top of the marabou, and that will create a good body shape. Okay, so it's already pre-tapered, as you can see, so you don't need to do anything there. So it's going to go in about there. Couple of wraps round. That's looking good. Okay, and split on the eye of the hook and split on the hook itself. taps on that. Okay, that's looking good. Obviously when this is wet, this will actually taper down quite nicely and give it a really nice shape. Okay, so I'm going to finish this last little bit off with a little bit more of this Flashaboo. So, so next we're going to go with some orange, favourite orange, kind of classic fire tiger type colour. Okay, and again with this, I'm splitting it because less is more, as obviously. Okay, I'm just going to pull that through. Match that up to the back. When you see these in the water, they're actually quite bonkers. Okay. Now I'm going to take some orange flash. Tie that in there. Okay. Maybe a bit more varnish. Now this bit is, I'm going to fold that back. Again, give us that lovely body shape. Good. Right. So I'm now going to go take another piece of the orange. Again, thin piece. And I'm going to half. There's a couple of long fibres on there, so I'm just going to trim them. Cut that in half. So what you want is you want to put that on there so the longest bit's there and the shortest bit will fold over. That helps give it that profile. That's looking good. Okay, and I'm going to go for a little bit more flash. And I'm going to pull that through, blending it in. Again, when you do this, it also means you're tapering. We're going to put that up. Okay. And folding that underneath. Okay, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to give that a whip off. Okay, I'll take the old lighter, and again applying heat to the eye of the hook, and what that does, it melts down into the inside of the nose there, and it will make that bind to the hook. And again, you've got your wire under there as well. Okay. See, I can feel that's quite warm, so that's gonna melt to that hook shank, and that's pretty much it. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stick some eyes on. I'm going to use these big green eyes, and I'm just going to Gorilla Glue them on. Quite easy. These eyes are quite cool because they also add a little weight to the fly, which is helpful in the movement of the fly in the water. Okay, when gluing the large eyes on, you'll tend to find that they kind of won't stay on by themselves with the Gorilla Glue like that. So what I tend to do is take the hook out, adjust the eyes, okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that down, and we're going to come back to that once it's dry and I can show you the finished fly. Okay, so the eyes have dried, and what I'm going to do is just I'm going to finish that with just a little touch of varnish on there, just to solid things up. Okay, and there you have it. Now, I'll tell you now, it's a bit of a Frankenstein, but we'll catch your fish. Thanks for watching.